Good morning and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to start off by showing you my blanket. Well, actually, Byron, I'm showing it to you because you asked me to. Right, this is how big it is, like now. I can't do the whole. Ta-doo! It's coming on nicely. I think I'm finishing the ball I've got, and I've got 3 more balls to work into it. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's coming on, and it'll probably go the way of the other one. Right. I want to start off today with a little reminder for anybody who's interested. It's a good time of year to start taking vitamin D. If you're anything like us, we both suffer a bit with seasonal affectiveness disorder, where you can feel a bit sad and a bit down because of the lack of sunshine, and we're used to being outside. Vitamin D helps with that. And am I right in saying, Joe, it also helps with absorbing calcium?
I don't know, you'll have to research that.
Yeah, you have to research that, but I've got a feeling it does. And so if we're eating healthy extra A's to give us more calcium, and that helps to absorb it into our bodies, it can't be a bad thing, can it? So, I mean, we buy our vitamin D at our local pharmacy, which is called My Local, and it's literally £1.50 for 60 tablets, I think, is it? 60 or 90?
60.
60. You can't find much cheaper than that, and it's a decent quality because it comes from a pharmacy. And yeah, if you've never taken vitamin D in the winter before, I would recommend you give it a go. I don't think it can do you any harm. A lot of people suffer with a shortage of vitamin D, and if that becomes I'm lost for words today. If it becomes an extreme shortage, it can affect you, and I think it's sort of pernicious anemia and stuff like that. It's something we really need to be aware of, and I don't think it's something we regularly get tested for on a general basis. But that was just to mention it in case anybody would like to join us in taking vitamin D for the winter. The other thing, something that came up at group this morning, I used to regularly buy, and I've spoken about it on one of my videos before, minted lamb slices in Iceland, and they were free. They are now 3.5 sins. So I just wanted to highlight that because on a previous video, sometime probably this time last year maybe, as far back as that, but I did actually show it and say this is free. And it's another example of how things change sin-wise. I don't think we get a lot of changes. I don't think they're a weekly occurrence. But when it's something that I know I've spoken about before and said it's free, I like to come back and say it isn't any longer, just in case somebody picks it up who's eating it and calling it free. Right, got a couple of headings with Joe, and I know the first one was Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This week I've been watching quite a lot of American videos because I'm into like homesteading and stuff like that. I love the idea of it. Couldn't do it, not for 1 minute, but I love the idea of it. And of course in America next Thursday it's Thanksgiving. So first of all I looked up what's Thanksgiving all about, and it goes back to the Pilgrim Fathers and everything. And I come from a village called Blythe, which is only 3 miles away from where the Pilgrim Fathers set off to go to America from. They're a village called Scrooby. And because at school, I mean, we went to church school and everything like that, and we had it all drummed into us about the founding fathers and Scrooby and all the Pilgrim Fathers and all this sort of thing. It was part of our local history, just like Robin Hood is. And it just kind of brought it to mind this week because all of these people are talking about Thanksgiving. And I've never really paid much heed to it, but looking at what they're doing and what they're planning to eat and their menus and everything, my God, it's like having 2 Christmases within the month. So Thanksgiving is always the 4th Thursday of November, so it's next Thursday. Then of course it'll be followed by Black Friday, where we can all spend to our heart's content. But looking at what they eat, I mean, it's our Christmas and then some. And to think that in a month's time, or 27 days time, they're going to be doing it all again for Christmas. I don't know whether in America you make such a big thing of Christmas Day or whether Thanksgiving is your big meal. But I'm thinking, how would you... I'm just feeling so blessed this morning that I'm not in America thinking it all starts next Thursday and goes on until after New Year. Because once I started on that roller coaster, I think I'd find it hard to pull it back for 27 days to do it again at Christmas. And one of the things we're talking about in group this morning, and I guess a lot of groups would have done this, passing around a paper, dividing into groups, looking at different aspects of Christmas, like going out for your party do's with work, like buffets, like drinks and cocktails, like Christmas Day on plan, Christmas Day off plan, My God, there was a vast difference. It was like we were looking at the Slimming World recommendation for Christmas Day on Plan. Now, I'm not taking the mick out of Slimming World, you know I love Slimming World. But their idea of Christmas pudding, and I don't eat Christmas pudding because I don't like it, but it just tickled me. The little tiny Christmas puddings that you can get, like the individual portions. Slimming World, on their Christmas dinner example on Plan, had a quarter of one of those, a quarter. My God, it's not even a mouthful, with cream on. And it was like 3.5 sins. And I'm thinking, who, apart from Scrooge, would have a quarter of a single Christmas pudding? And somebody in my group, who's a lovely, quite funny lady, said, I buy those little ones to get a taster of them, to find out which one is the right one to buy in the big form for Christmas Day. And I guess, not being a person who even thinks about Christmas pudding, I mean, 14 cents for one of those little ones. Even if I did like it, would I spend 14 cents on one? Yes, I would on Christmas Day. I wouldn't on Boxing Day, I wouldn't on Christmas Eve, I wouldn't for the whole month of December, but if I liked it, I would on Christmas Day. Because my intention this year is to take Christmas Day off Plan, but not to be mental about it, because I can't eat that much anymore. I make myself feel physically ill if I stuff myself to the gunnels. So my idea is to have a normal breakfast, to have a proper Christmas lunch, which is a proper Christmas lunch, not a miser's Christmas lunch. And I might have a dessert, but it won't be Christmas pudding. I don't like Christmas cake, I don't like mince pies. I'm lucky there because they are such a temptation. But in group this morning, it was just really interesting because we had like an off-plan buffet and an on-plan buffet. And I'm sorry, with the best will in the world and with my absolute devotion pointed towards Slimming World, an on-plan buffet, I just sat there thinking, that ain't doing anything for me. I don't want to go to a buffet and eat salad leaves and things like hummus made out of a tin of chickpeas and things. What I do nowadays, if I'm invited to a buffet and it's a family, excuse me, that's postman coming. If I'm invited to a buffet and it's a family buffet, I would go. And I would eat moderately what I wanted to eat off that buffet. But you're looking at 7.5 to 8 cents for one small triangle, you know, a quarter sandwich. And to be honest, I've got out of the habit of eating beige buffet food. But I would go if it was family, right? If I was invited to a buffet that was something to do with a social thing that I do, or something to do with a work thing that I do, or anything like that, I would just decline today. Because I know for me that is a massive trigger. And I know that I would eat for England, make myself ill, and then be glum for the next 7 days. I don't need to do that anymore. I go to social occasions, like I went to a really good concert last night, that I know generally don't include food, because food isn't my be-all and end-all anymore. Been quite frustrated this week watching videos and people are talking about the fact that it's already Christmas. Well, I just want to stand here and say it's not. It's not Christmas. It's the 23rd of November. You know, I think we're starting to stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. And I think basically for me, I just need to focus on taking the pressure off myself by saying for me, and I'm only talking about me, that Christmas is Christmas Day. The rest of it, it's not a food festival. It's supposed to be a faith festival, and it's about, you know, if you've got kids and Santa and all those lovely things, but it's not about nothing but food. And I'm having to train myself into thinking that, because for me, the Christmas season, when I used to work and do loads of work functions and business functions and things, the Christmas season was just a binge fest of food. And by Christmas, I was so stuffed full and uncomfortable that I didn't enjoy it anyway, because whatever I planned to wear on Christmas Day, usually by Christmas Day didn't fit me because I'd ate too much. And I don't want to come across as this right old, you know, misery and a miser and all that sort of thing, but I do think that after almost 4 years in a sort of target area, I've learned to take my eye off the fact that Christmas means food, means gluttony, means stuff in my face. It's a lot more fun if you don't feel fat and crap. For me, it's a lot more fun. Right, so that was it. Thanksgiving to Christmas. I mean, a whole month of, oh no, I'm just grateful. Have a lovely time if you live in America. Enjoy Thanksgiving. But tell me, how do you stop and pull it back between Thanksgiving and 27 days later having Christmas? Right, Something I did this week, my husband came for lunch again yesterday and I made a cottage pie. And I don't put onions in cottage pie because I'm not a big lover of onion, chopped onion. But I do put lots of flavouring in, and I do make it 50%, 5%, 50%, let me get it right. I do make it 50% pork mince and 50% beef mince, so each of those are 5%. And I was thinking this week when I was cooking, you know, and I was frying off my mince, and I was thinking, if this mince is 5% fat, and I was using 500 grams, so I've got 250 grams of pork and 250 grams of beef. That means in this pan, which I have not put any fat in, because I use Le Creuset pans, so I don't need to use fat, in this pan, there could be 25 grams of fat. Now, for my mind, yeah, that's low fat, but a 15 gram tablespoon of oil is 6 sins. And I'm talking about there could be 20, and I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is we don't really need to be spraying our pans with Frylight and other sprays, and lots of other brands are available. I'm not cooking Frylight, but stop and think about how much fat is in there. If I'm using a kilogram of, no, I got that wrong. It's not 25 grams, it's 12 and a half for 500. Let me start again. If I'm using,
100 grams would be 5 grams of fat.
Yeah. So if I'm using a kilogram, which I often do, I'll make up a batch for the freezer, that could potentially be 50 grams of fat.
Yeah.
50 grams of fat, that's more than 3 tablespoons, which if we had to count the sins for it, would be 18 plus sins. So why do we feel the need to add fat to these things and be spraying our pans and goodness knows what else? It was just a revelation. I was standing there cooking. I probably just got the numbers wrong before, but while I was actually cooking with 500 grams of pork mince and 500 grams of beef mince, I had a kilogram of meat in my pan, and that's where the thought came from, because I thought 5%. I mean, potentially that's 50 grams of fat. It's a lot, isn't it? But it's free, so there's no panic there. But just think about spraying your pan. You don't necessarily need to. There's plenty of fat in the meat. Anyway, I made this base for the cottage pie, and I was thinking what to top it with, and I hadn't got a massive amount of potatoes in, but I had got a bag of frozen cubed sweet potato, and I buy that, plus I buy frozen cubed butternut squash to make sweet potato and butternut squash soup in the soup maker. Now in Asda, a bag of each, I think they're about £1.80 a bag. It's a handy thing to have in your freezer for soup making. I've also ordered dried minced onion from Amazon this week, so I don't have to chop onions and find pieces of onions in my food because I don't like it. And I checked with Debbie because Joe wasn't here, and that is free on Plan. £1.99 for 100 grams. I thought that was quite good. You probably can buy it in the supermarkets, but I can't see that, and I don't think to ask Joe when I'm in the supermarket. Anyway, because I didn't have many potatoes, I'm waffling, aren't I? Because I didn't have many potatoes, I thought I'll steam that bag of sweet potatoes and mash it. So I just threw it in the steamer for about 12 to 15 minutes from frozen, tipped it into a bowl, mashed beautifully, didn't add any butter, any kind of oil, any milk, anything like that. Topped my cottage pie with it. Put it in the oven. I made a few peaks on top, put it in the oven, came out absolutely beautiful. We really enjoyed it for lunch yesterday. We had green beans and cauliflower with it. Totally free meal. And I just thought to myself, the convenience, I'm not one for frozen veg. I don't like frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower. We live practically in an Asda car park, so we can get it so easily fresh. I don't keep much in the way. I keep frozen peas and frozen butternut squash and frozen sweet potato in my freezer, and that's it. But I've had this frozen sweet potato, I've been buying it for the best part of a year and not thinking ideal for mashing. Before I used to struggle to peel a sweet potato and mash it, and I thought, my God, how easy is this? Even if you just wanted to steam enough to mash it to go on your lunch, because I love sweet potato. But what I was mindful of, and one of the reasons I'm mentioning it, is when I was shopping with my friend, I said to her, "Oh, get me a bag of frozen sweet potato, a bag of butternut squash, and parsnips." I thought I can make a curried parsnip soup, which I really like. And she got the parsnips. Now, my friend used to do Slimming World, so she's red hot on what I'm buying, and she checks things for me. And she went, oh no, you don't want these. They've got oil on them. So we put them back. And I think that was one of the things. Wouldn't it be nice if you could buy them all without the oil? Because I don't want to sin oil on things like that. I don't want oil on parsnips if I'm putting them in soup. And again, parsnips are one of those awkward vegetables to peel. Well, I don't like peeling them. But yeah, be mindful if you're buying some frozen, well, we couldn't find a frozen parsnips, and we've looked in Asda since, we can't find them without oil. And also, my friend pointed out to me, be mindful when you're buying roasting vegetables, because it's quite unusual to find a frozen one that doesn't have the oil already in it. If you do find one, will you let me know? And will you also let me know if you're watching this and you find parsnips without oil? Because, I mean, I've got access to all the big supermarkets, and I love parsnips, and the convenience of just being able to throw them in the soup maker and make curry parsnip soup on a cold day like today and a wet day like today really appeals to me. So yeah, I'm looking for a bit of help there. So, on to group. I don't think there was anything else on my list, was there?
No, that's it.
Yeah, on to group. Went into group this morning, was mindful a lot of people were going through, but the usual number of people were not staying to group. And I guess people have got stuff to do. And I mean, I can do my Christmas shopping in the week. I went on Wednesday and Christmas shopped for a few hours. But a lot of people who are working only have their weekends. And then, of course, it's family time as well. So people were coming in to group. I think we had 100 and, I don't know, well, 150 probably through on the 2 meetings. But it's the time of year when people stop staying to group. And I just want to talk again about the value of staying to group and the things you might hear, if you can. You know, if you can't stay to group, then it's good that you turn up and get weighed, rather than just thinking, oh, I'll miss a week. But I was just mindful when it actually came to the group and the image therapy, there weren't as many of us there today, but there were the usual crowd and the faithful ones, and we had a really good image therapy thing with lots of excellent ideas and not things to avoid at Christmas, but be real about it. I mean, my favourite drink is a Manhattan, so that's a measure of gin, a measure of vermouth or dry martini, and proper lemonade. And it was like, you know, we were looking at this different drinks. That was 11 sins. Now, on a good night, I could have 4 or 5 of those. And I'm a monkey, I was going to say a bugger, but I'm a monkey for thinking sins for drinks are not the same as sins for food. And it's easy, isn't it, Joe, to drink sins?
Yeah, it's loads easier to drink calories than it is to eat them.
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about during the week was if people are into bulking up because they're into lifting or bodybuilding or whatever, one of the easiest ways to do that is protein shakes or milk, full fat milk. And you can soon bang in a few 100 calories. And I don't know about you, you know, the person who's watching this, but I do know about me. It doesn't feel the same if you drink it. And I mean, Joe pulled me up yesterday because I'd had a friend round for coffee, and we had professional soya milk, Alpro professional soya milk, which you have to sin, it's not a healthy extra. And there was a bit left in the bottom of the carton. I made myself a small coffee and poured it in so I could throw the carton away. Immediately a voice came from the other end of the bungalow saying, you didn't count that. Because Joe would know if I was going to count liquids like that. I've got a scales that measures liquids and solids, but it also says it out loud. And he could hear me making coffee, and he knew I'd got the milk out the fridge, but he also didn't hear the scales say it. And I thought, you know, he's right. I mean, I'm supposed to be 100% on plan this week. I'm really focused on doing it. And yet, just as quick as that, a drop of milk into a coffee. And how many times have I heard people saying, how many times have I said myself, it was just a splash of milk?
He multiplies the sins by 10.
That's what Joe says. I said that was half a sin.
It.
He said, if you don't count it, it multiplies them by 10. And it does multiply them by 10 because you get into the bad habit and then you do it without realising that you're doing it. And then those multiplied sins are the danger that puts the fat back on your hips and your thighs and your waist and your boobs and under your chin. And it's scary. So yeah, thank you for picking me up on that, Joe. But it just shows you when you're 100% on it and you're really being mindful, you can still slip up. So in group this morning, I had a cup of tea, which is quite unusual for me. And I said to my friend Maureen who made it, can you just put me the tiniest dash of milk in it? Because it's not strong tea. And she did, but then I'm sitting there thinking, God, this is too hot to drink. At home, I would put 120 mils of milk in a cup of tea. You know, and if I was making a cup of tea and not counting it at home, that's 3 of those cups of tea, and that's a healthy extra A gone. So 1 of those cups of tea with my 120 mils in is 2 sins, and if I'm not counting them, those 2s soon multiply. So I picked myself up on that this week and I did count it. Over the week I have had 2 A choices every day. A lovely commenter on my channel said 1 or 2 A choices, you could cut down to 1. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that, because I know myself, if I cut down to 1 A choice and I got the weight off by doing that, you okay?
Yeah.
If I cut down to 1 A choice and I got the weight off by doing that, I'd never have the courage to go back up to 2.
We're at 21 minutes.
Yeah, so I won't do that. So all week I've had 2 A choices, 1 B choice, and over the week I've had 74 sins. And when I went into group this morning, I said to Joe before we left home, I'm feeling about the same. But I did wear a top when I went out last night, and it didn't feel as uncomfortable as it did when I tried it on last week and put it back in the wardrobe. So that was okay. So I went into group thinking, please God, let me have lost a half a pound at least. Got on the scales and lost 4 pounds. And I am really surprised by that, because I carried on this week doing exactly what I'd done the week before, which I said last week, sometimes you've just got to be consistent. You've just got to keep going. Even though you're disillusioned, you've just got to keep going. And my consultant says to me, Jane, forget the figures, just keep going. If you know you're sticking to plan, it will never, never, never let you down. But if it's not working for some reason, and you're going up and you're going up and you're going up, it's something you're doing, not something the plan's doing. So she was keeping a tight eye on me this week, and I said to her, I'm just going to continue doing what I've done. Lost 4 pounds. So I'm feeling that was over the 2 weeks, and it feels good, and I feel so much better for getting to the end of the week and being able to stand here honestly and say, I did it. I did 7 straight days. Now, Joe, can you show our telly chart?
Yeah.
We're doing the 30-day challenge, which I'm quite tempted to extend to 50 days because it would take me up to Christmas Day then. You'll see from the chart we've done 3 blocks of 5 days, and we've got 3 days completed into our next block, and then we don't put today down till it's finished, but this is actually day 19 of the 30-day challenge. When you start it and you think 30 days, it sounds like a long time, but we've soon got to day 19, haven't we?
Yep.
So my results this week, 4 pounds off. I don't know if Joe wants to share his or not. That's, yeah.
No, I'm pissed off.
That's blunt for you. He's off. Why are you fed up, Joe?
I've done everything the same as last week, and I've only lost £1/4.
Yeah, but if you average it over the 2 weeks, like I've had to do, it just shows keep being consistent, because if he stays consistent, which I really think he will, he'll be back next Saturday and he'll have lost another little chunk. And that's what it's about, isn't it? The scales don't know it's Saturday morning. Our bodies, our minds know, but our bodies don't know. Be consistent. I always hark back to what Debbie has drummed into me in all the time I've known her. It's about choice and consistency. None of us are perfect. We all choose to take days off, weekends off, holidays off, and come back to it. That's living a life. But being consistent when you can be and not making excuses is living a lifestyle. So that's us for this week. Oh, did I show that? I've got to prove it, I got so much in the Slimmer of the Week basket, it filled 3 carrier bags. So I actually gave 2 carrier bags, to 1 each to the 2 ladies I was sitting with, because I could not have brought all that food home. So I've got a massive fruit bowl full of fruit, and God knows I might have to give it to Richard because we'd already got plenty. But this, does it show you?
Yeah, Mum.
Slimmer of the Week, and that's my bit of bling to go on my book. I didn't expect to get that, but I'm bloody grateful. And that is the reward. I'm celebrating good times for sticking to plan 7 days. You know, I did it last week, it didn't show, but it caught up this week. So, got to go, Joe's got to go to work, so that's why. But have a good week. Thanks for listening, thanks for your comments, and we'll see you next Saturday. Cheers.